Dumb. Cool.
Weird.
Podcast.
They tell me about how, like, students threaten them. Students are fucking dickheads, and it's really fucking sad because there are kids that want to learn, but there's actually so few of them these days. Kids are functionally retarded now.
Absolutely. So let's start with Class of 1984.
Fucking Class of 1984, dude. It's that movie is another reason as to why I didn't become a teacher.
Yep. It's definitely a movie that is not for the faint of heart. It's pretty hard to watch in some certain points.
It was Death Wish, but without the redemption for most of the movie.
Yep, pretty much.
There was no John Kersey getting a gun after his family gets murdered and raped. It's this teacher has to get fucking pushed to the very end to finally act.
Yep. So this movie has a young Michael J. Fox before he did Family Ties. Also has Roddy McDowall from our like Nick's favorite movie, Planet of the Apes. He played Cornelius.
Yes.
And that's really all we remember, from this movie as far as like actors go. But yeah, it's a movie about a bunch of these punk ass kids who basically
Literally punk kids.
Yeah,
From rich parents.
From rich parents who quote unquote run the school. If they find you selling drugs and they're part of the school, they'll whip your ass, stuff like that.
Yeah,
the school is literally covered in graffiti everywhere. And it's literally years before they did that fucking movie with Morgan Freeman.
Yeah. Oh, actually, you ever see the 187 with Samuel Jackson?
I don't think I ever saw that one.
Yeah, that's another one where they had those kids, those rowdy kids, except Samuel Jackson at the end of that movie, he gets his.
Oh, I bet he does.
No, actually, he gets his during the movie, but you have to watch it. It kind of feels like this one where, Sam Jackson is just trying to teach the kids, and he's like, these kids have so much to learn, but Sam Jackson also is like, I ain't fucking around.
Yep.
After getting stabbed in like the first scene of the movie by a student.
Yep. So this is one of those movies where the guy's he's a music teacher, and he moves from Nebraska to wherever the fuck this was, the mean streets of Ohio or something.
Actually, to be fair, Ohio is a shithole.
Yeah.
Cincinnati, Ohio is like, dude, you just get raped for looking at somebody the wrong way.
Yeah, I heard Cleveland, Ohio is pretty rough too.
Hey, at least it's not Detroit.
Hey, good point. But we just thought it was really interesting how this character is kind of a little bitch the entire movie. Like he gets gumption every once in a while, but then he kind of like
he backs down really hard.
Yeah, and
I mean the first part of the movie, there's a teacher with a 1911 inside, the British teacher of all people with the 1911 going and getting ready to teach biology, and he's like, "Hey, you got a weapon on you?" And he's like, "No." Like, this guy from Nebraska who should be from who should be a hard dude, not like some weak little bitch.
Yep.
But then again, he's a music teacher, so it makes sense.
Yep.
He isn't the gym teacher from Nebraska.
Yep. And from like the first scene, he had problems with those fucking kids. And it turns out that the one kid actually plays the piano really well. And it's because he's a rich kid and he has like everything handed to him, along with all the other kids too. They're not exactly like hurting.
And they're also like making $4,000 a week from selling coke in the bathroom.
Yeah, which is pretty nuts. Also selling other drugs too. Like there's a scene in the movie where the kids are at this club where I think it's called Teenage.
Their punk rock headquarters.
The punk rock headquarters were this band name. I think it's called Teenage Dream or Screamer. I don't know. Whatever.
Doesn't matter. They're dead now, probably from a heroin overdose, like all punk rockers.
Yep. And so they're in the back room and they're holding auditions for new members.
Quote unquote auditions.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're selling drugs. They're shooting up heroin.
They're raping people.
There
was a lot of rape in this movie.
Yep, a ton of rape. And the thing is, like,
it was disturbing.
The whole like we could take you through the whole movie, but really the whole movie is teacher gets onto them. They retaliate against teacher
violently.
And then teacher retaliates against them, and then eventually it gets to a point where like they burn his car out, and then he wrecks and destroys the kid's car. Tries to threaten the mom. The mom's a fucking loser bitch who doesn't even realize.
Doesn't even try to threaten the mom. He's trying to reason with her, like, "Hey, your son's a fucking psychopath," and she's like, "My little Johnny is like really good. He's a good, talented young man. He's gonna need therapy because of what you did to him." And you just want to punch her right in the fucking face.
Yeah, pretty much. And by the way, Michael J. Fox, he's not a snitch, dude. He keeps the shit quiet even after they fucking kill his friend by selling him fucking angel dust. Dude climbs up a ladder and jumps to his death.
No, it wasn't a ladder. He climbed up the flagpole.
Yeah, the flagpole.
Said the Pledge of Allegiance and fell off and broke his neck.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. And what ends up happening though is the goons kind of take it too far and they kill the science teacher's fucking animals. They basically they make them in a shish kebab and like skin them alive and like have them like over Bunsen burners and shit.
Yeah, and they skin the only animal that got an easy death was the cat.
Yep.
The cat was hung.
Yep.
At that point though in the book when like the music teacher's like having his fucking nervous breakdown in the park, like thinking he's a failure. Next day goes to school, holds the class up at gunpoint, and all of their problems could have gone away. But no, he gets this idea of like, I got to save these wayward children that have been terrorizing me. And he prevents the British teacher from shooting him in the face.
Yep. And then they think it's going to, they're like, well, I'm going to take him home. They take him home and you think that helps. But then the British teacher gets in his car, has like a little bit of Grandpa's cough medicine.
Yeah.
Drinking in the car. And he decides to start running them down. And
he didn't do a very good job of it.
No, he didn't. He almost got the leader a couple times, but then he fucking flipped the car over and the car exploded because, all cars in the 80s are,
extremely flammable.
Yep. So, and then it cuts to the next day and the guy's like, well, it was nice to see all the kids at so-and-so's funeral. And we're just like, you're not more angry.
You're not angry at the fact that, these kids drove your friend to kill himself or like die in a very gruesome way. You know what though? Like, it's sad because it's like after the car gets firebombed and he tells his wife to go like to her mother's house, and she makes a very good point and is like, well, why don't you come with me? What's the point of being in this school? And he's like, these kids need a teacher. It's like, whoa, slow down, buddy. All right, you're a music teacher.
Yep. And not only that, he makes a big deal to her about being like, well, what did he say to her? He was like, He's like, it's my duty.
It's my duty. It's my sworn duty. It's like, bro, stop talking like you have a real job.
Yeah, it's like, bro, chill the fuck out, dude. You ain't that fucking special.
It's like the football coach would have handled this like in the first act.
Oh yeah, the movie would have been over. Like if they did this shit to the football coach, he would have dropped them like first period French, dude.
Okay, if he fucked with the football coach, the shop class guy, the shop class teacher,
or the automotive teacher.
Yeah, the automotive teacher. Dude, the automotive teacher's probably already killed people.
Yeah, did you find it really funny that there was no jocks and there was no like any kind of sports
no nerds.
Teachers? Yeah,
nothing. It's like with all the budget cuts that the principal was talking about, I was surprised that he didn't just cut music first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was really bizarre, But like I said, like there's not really much to this movie in terms of like crazy plot. It's literally just retaliation, and it just keeps getting worse and
finally,
worse.
it happens, and
it gets to a point where like the music recital is about to happen because that's important. And
and then
which by the way, they've been building that up the entire movie. This music recital,
which really wasn't like that important to keep the story together.
Yep. And we never see Michael J. Fox towards the last act of the movie because he's still in the hospital. I guess they couldn't afford him because he's probably signed a contract for Family Ties at that point. And he's like, fuck this shit, I'm done.
To be fair, it was weird, right? Because they're like, oh, well, nobody saw. Someone would have to come out with a name. And then Michael J. Fox tells them after, they stab him and almost kill him.
Yep, he basically pulls a name out of him.
And then then the police just hold those punks for like about 24 hours and like, oh, they're the streets problem now.
Yep, lets them go. And so...
I was actually surprised, though, like you said, why haven't much harder street criminals just killed these kids?
I don't know. It makes no fucking sense. I'm surprised that gang of black guys didn't fucking kill them.
Yeah, there was more of them. And they all had knives.
Yep, and they all looked pretty hardened.
Yeah, but that was like the part that didn't make sense. It's like these kids had the one really tough fat guy, and that was real. And the psychopathic, which by the way, for some reason we never could figure out if they were neo-Nazis or punk rockers or punk rock Nazis. It's very off the wall with those white kids.
Yep. And by the end of the movie, they decide to have the recital, and he, like a dumbass, the music teacher's like, "Oh, go ahead and get ready, and then I'll meet you at the recital." And
not
then,
like concerned that, maybe he should take his wife with him, and then she
Yep.
gets assaulted.
She gets raped
Yeah.
by every member of the gang, and then they take a picture of it because, now they have evidence. And basically they lure the teacher, the music teacher, into the dark part of the school after it's closed down for the night, and they proceed to whip his ass a good bit. And then finally, at the very end of this fucking shit, he finally has his fucking Taken moment, his Charles Bronson moment, his moment of redemption. And half the fucking kills were by accident.
Yeah, because actually the only one that was a solid kill that was on his part was when he burned the heroin junkie kid with the torch and the gasoline.
Yeah, because even the buzzsaw kill was like pretty.
He got so lucky at that point because he would have been fucking dead.
Yep, he got very lucky.
And then he almost stopped killing the ringleader because he's like, "But I'm just the kid." It's like, dude, you're like a 17-year-old psychopath. You're doing the world a favor. This is late term abortions at its best.
Yep, because basically he beats the shit out of the fat guy with a pipe.
And that guy took forever to take down, and he didn't even kill him. Apparently the car runs and shot in fucking the automotive class. Like, it has gas in it to go.
Yeah, and so the fat guy gets back up after he got hit in the head with a blunt object 5 times, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't believe that at all.
But then he gets run over by the car as the chick who was driving the car gets crushed by one of the cars on the stilts.
Yep. And then she finally tells him where his wife is. They go upstairs and they finally have their little fight to the death. And then the kid dies in the weirdest way. Like, he tries to be like, he's hanging by a rope on the roof and he's like, "Oh, I'm just a kid, help me."
And then he's like, "I'll help you." And then he almost had a Master Splinter moment when he was dealing with the shredder, where he tried to hit him with a knife and then he just punched him in the face so he could fall out.
Yep. And then as the rope wraps around his head, he fucking hangs himself inside the auditorium and his eyeball pops out of his head.
It was very underwhelming considering they gave every adult so much shit throughout the movie that that the movie was like, yeah, nothing happened to him because no one saw it. And it's like, this whole movie, they've been giving the adults shit for defending themselves.
It's the fucking leaders in that town. It's the cop is a piece of shit. The principal's a piece of shit. The whole fucking neighborhood's a piece of shit because, remember...
Yeah, everybody was a piece of shit.
Nobody watched what happened at the house. Nobody watched her get pulled out of the house.
None of the neighbors are, worried about the people next door to them. They're just like, "Oh, well, those neighbors are getting raped over there and firebombed. We shouldn't, care a little bit."
Yeah, they're all pieces of shit. The cop's a piece of shit. He's like, "Well, there's nothing we can do." And the principal's like, "Well, there's nothing we can do. It's because of Goldstein, man. It's because of Goldstein."
No, whatever happened to Goldstein put this town to being like, yo.
So in the beginning of the movie, they said that Goldstein wasn't working there anymore, and me and Nick were joking and being like, "Oh, that's because the kids killed Goldstein. That's funny." And then the principal's like, "Yeah,
it was an accident.
It was an accident. Goldstein fell down the stairs." It's like, dude, we were just joking about that.
Yeah, we actually didn't read the description of this movie when we started off. We thought it was going to be one of those kind of fun 80s movies.
No, it was not a fun 80s movie. It was fucking ridiculous. I mean, we liked it. It's a very serious,
but it made
80s
me
movie.
Fucking mad, dude.
Yeah, it was very, very frustrating.
And it's weird though that only one teacher stood by him. It's with all the other fucking teachers in the school, you would have thought that they would have all ganged up on these kids at the end.
Yep.
That's kind of what I was waiting for, is the more teachers are get pissed off and gang up on these kids.
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous. Overall, though, it's definitely worth watching if you want to watch a fucking crazy ass 80s movie with a lot of teenage violence. It's a thriller, horror, suspense. It's definitely pretty messed up because you think when you watch it, there's going to be this angle where he's going to change the leader, the kid. You think there's going to be some kind of rite of passage, but no, that never happens. No, it just progressively gets worse.
Yeah, and then you find out there's just that all these kids are just awful humans.
Yep, it's pretty bad.
Which is kind of funny because the school, the thing opened up, the beginning of the movie opened up as this could happen to more schools around the country, and then I have friends who are teachers, and this is exactly why I didn't become a teacher, was because they literally deal with fucking crazy ass students. Like, obviously, the psychopaths are different these days, right? Now they have camera phones, so they can make themselves look like victims to the TikTok, right?
Yeah.
But holy crap, do they tell? Have I heard horror stories of these kids, their stupid ass parents, and the fact that, you know, like, the youth of today is pretty fucking retarded.
Oh, I believe that.
It's actually really sad, and they're violent too. So, good reason I didn't become a teacher, because I would have punched a kid.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I don't think I could have been a teacher either.
We would have been the bullying gym teachers.
Yeah, if I would saw stuff like this happening, I'd try really quickly to try to shut this shit down. But they just couldn't pay me enough to do that crap.
Well, I told you what happened at my mom's school when she was growing up in like the
Yeah, the guy
70s.
came in and whipped their ass.
No, yeah, they hired a guy who was a former cop and hockey goon,
Yeah.
and he literally would come into school and kick people's ass. And the funniest part is like, if you were caught skipping class, he hunted you like an animal. For the most part, the guy wore spurs on his cowboy boots to build up the suspense.
That's nuts, man.
No, it was nuts, though, is the thing I told you about the principal, where somebody threatened to fight the principal, and he punched the locker and dented it.
Mhm.
And then he said, "I'll see you outside, bitch."
Jesus Christ.
No, like our parents' day, the school staff was built different.
Different times.
You know, the lunch lady was putting cigarette ashes inside of their food. It was like, "It'll make you big and strong, honey. Drink your milk. I also put my cigarette butts in there for you to taste them, Johnny."
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious. But anyway, that is Class of 1984. It's
rough.
It's a rough movie. It's the first movie with Michael J. Fox in it. It's
His fucking haircut.
and that fucking terrible ass haircut. That was the real crime, by the way.
Yeah.
Was Michael Jackson.
Not the fact that fucking you looked like he was 30 years old at like 16.
Yeah. And you know, I would just say if you like a good 80s movie that has like a little bit of thriller and suspense in it, you know, by today's standards, I'd say check it out. You should definitely watch it. It's pretty graphic, it's pretty brutal. I definitely would recommend this one. Just be prepared to be mad. So Nick has probably got a lot to say about the dumb about this movie, about the Class of 1984. So go ahead, Nick.
Fuck. All right, where do we start here? All right. First off, it doesn't make sense that the principal and the police have not thought about a little bit of fucking corruption to get these teenagers who are murdering teachers. Like, you know, Goldstein just disappears. There's this illusion of like what happened to this teacher Goldstein that this other teacher decides to take over the music class for. You know, these kids are so fucking evil. Like, they have a laundry list of crimes. Like, they even go over them. It's like they're charged with rape, assault, murder, dealing drugs, and they're like, yeah, we can't really get them down. And every time the teacher this music teacher brings up the fact that they're doing something wrong, the principal caves in. He's like, oh, no, we can't do that. I don't want to be on your side. You know, and you would think that the whole movie, that maybe the principal's getting like a cut of like the murder and drug money, and it doesn't even happen. And let's not get started with the fact that this guy tells his wife to leave town because he can't trust these kids because they're fucking violent sociopaths. And wife's like, no, I want to stay here with you. It's like, motherfucker, you should kick your wife out of the house. They know where you live. You know, you go to class all day. What's to stop them from raping you and murdering you?
Yep.
Like that, like, and the fact that the wife is like, I want to stay here. Why the fuck would you want to stay in this town? This is Cincinnati, Ohio. It's a piece of shit town.
Yep.
Filled with these 4 specifically hardened criminal kids. This is the Diet Coke version of Death Wish.
It's incredibly dumb. And I think about how the cops, the school system, and the people in the community are just fucking ignorant to everything. It's so fucking stupid.
But
it's dumb as shit.
Oh, and that's the thing, right? Is the weird thing, we go into the weird too, is when he makes that line of like, oh, well, you know, I'm glad all his students, like when his friend dies trying to kill those kids with his car after having a botched attempt of trying to teach them through violence. You know, so the science teacher, these kids kill all the science teacher's animals, and then he just decides he's lost his shit. He pulls out his 1911 in class, and if they get a question wrong, he's going to shoot him in the face, right? The fact that everybody stopped the teacher was so weird, because it's like these 4 kids are literally the worst part of this town, And no one was just like, you know what? Let's just let it happen. There's nothing we can do. He
Yeah.
has a gun.
Yeah, and that was the weirdest part is that basically these kids would keep just doing this shit and nobody would ever do anything about it. I mean, the fact that that black gang that had like 6 members with like knives couldn't fucking kill.
They had like 7 dudes and knives.
Yeah, and they couldn't stop them. That's weird
4
too.
people, 4 or 5 people.
Yeah, that's weird
with
as
a
shit.
chain and sticks.
But I will say, moving on from the weird to the cool part of the whole movie is where the guy finally gets revenge against them and gets like kills, and that's the only cool part of the movie, really.
Yeah, the rest of the movie's fucking frustrating. It's like it's like you're getting edged, and you're not allowed to come. It's Microsoft Edge, 1000. You're just like, when is he gonna fucking balls up and kill him? It's like, if this was a shop teacher or the football coach.
Yep.
Like those teachers would have just killed those kids.
Yeah, and it's funny because when he kills them, he basically fights them in the shop.
Automotive class,
the shop class, and even in the gym too.
Yeah.
So he fights them in the places where those really masculine, powerful guys would have
hardcore
been.
teachers.
So that was what's really cool about it is he actually ended up taking them all out. But it took
his wife getting raped
for him to do it. So,
which is fucked up.
Fucked up, yes.
Like,
yeah. So that is the dumb, the cool, and the weird about the class of 1984.
Not a lot of cool, a lot of dumb, and a lot of weird.
Yep, pretty much. That was it on this one, and I hope you guys will check out the next one. And stay classy with this crazy ass 80s shit, because we got more 80s crap coming up the pipeline.
Yeah,
literally coming up the pipeline.
Well, stay sexy, beautiful people.
Thanks for checking out the Dumb Cool Weird podcast. We're a movie podcast now, so Movie Monday is every Monday about crappy movies from the 20th century. It's gonna be great, folks. I can't wait to show y'all.